Hey folks, welcome back to Masterpiece Security. We've been talking about encryption, and we talked a little bit about encryption of data at rest. And we do that through encryption keys. And in the situation of data at rest, most of the time you're going to use something like a symmetric key, which is a single key. And that single key will encrypt and decrypt the same data. But the challenge that you have with something like that is being able to exchange that key between two parties. That can be a challenge because you have to get it to that other system or that other person without anybody else seeing it. Oftentimes I have to do a very similar thing when I'm picking up a gallon of my favorite ice cream at the local store. I don't want anybody to see me doing that. It would be embarrassing. So in order to do this in such a way, you want to be able to have, when you're trying to protect data without exchanging a single key, we would pull in something called asymmetric encryption. And asymmetric encryption is a private and public key pair. And it means that there's one key that is used for encrypting and one key that is used for decrypting. And the wonderful thing about asymmetric encryption is that you have less of a challenge with exchanging a key if you can create the keys in such a way that one party holds the private key and never lets anybody see it, and the public key is freely handed out to anybody. And it's okay if that public key is visible to anybody because the private key is what is used to actually decrypt anything that's encrypted by the public key. It's a very fascinating way to think about encrypting data. And what this allows is for anybody to use the public key to encrypt data and send it to the owner of the private key. The owner of the private key is the only one that can decrypt that. And that is essentially how data in transit is encrypted. Things like HTTPS, which we're all hopefully familiar with, FTPS or SFTP, all rely on encrypting data in transit by using key pairs. So I'm just going to use a definition from this well-written book called the Application Security Program Handbook by Derek Fisher. Here it says a public and private key pair, also known as asymmetric key, is a set of digital keys that are used to encrypt and decrypt data. These keys are generated together, but one is intended to be kept secret and private, where the other is used publicly. They are used to encrypt and decrypt data and to provide digital signatures. What wonderful pieces of technology that are so versatile that they're able to not just encrypt data in transit, but can also be used for digital signatures. And the reason they can be used for digital signatures is that the private key, the owner of the private key, is the only one that owns the private key, or the only one that should have access to the private key. So therefore, if a document is signed with a private key, it can only be validated with the public key that matches that private key. The owner of that private key, therefore, is the one that signed that document. They can't refute that. It's amazing, just absolutely amazing piece of technology. And with that, I hope you folks enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed talking about it. Remember, folks, when you're secure, I'm secure. Stay safe out there.